Welcome to MCN and a series of videos where we talk to MCN staff about the bikes they actually own, bought and paid for. And today we're talking about Justin's TRX850 Yamaha. Is that the correct name?
That is the correct name, yeah.
Thanks very much for coming along, showing us your pride and joy. Do you know what, before we even start asking you any questions, I love this. I've never ever ridden one. I remember seeing these like in PB back in the day, when some of the journos who like more left field bikes raved about them.
Yeah.
All I wanted to read about was super sport bikes. So I almost probably thought these were a bit weird for me. But now as I'm becoming more left field myself, I think I just love it. It's almost slipped through the net, hasn't it? Back in the day.
Well, they hit the showrooms at a weird time. R1 and R6 hit Yamaha showrooms only a year or two after this came out. And you think that on the showroom floor next to an R1.
Yeah, it hasn't got a beam frame.
Yeah.
Hasn't got an inline 4 engine. You know, it's just, yeah, so tell us a little bit about it.
Right, well, I mean, the bike in general, a little bit of history about the model, I guess, might be handy.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So, as far as I know, they were introduced to the Japanese market.
Yeah.
So it was purely a home market thing, and back in the 90s especially, the Japanese were doing we were buying grey imports, we were buying parallel imports, there was a whole load of stuff coming out of Japan. And apparently journalists went out to Japan, certain Western journalists, rode this, liked it enough for Yamaha to then want to produce it for the rest of the world. Well, I say the rest of the world, America never got it.
Okay.
So it went to Western Europe, Australia. A few things changed on it over the years, but essentially that's what it is. It was designed to sort of echo the 900 SS, the Ducatis at the time.
Very Ducati. I mean, it's got a copycat trellis frame, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's one striking difference, is it's a parallel twin rather than a V.
A V, yeah, so it's a bit wider.
That's what got me in, was the look of it, first of all. You said it's a lovely looking bike. And it's got this kind of, it's almost like an endurance racer look.
Yeah.
Because it's got the half fairing, it's got the tail unit, the engine's hanging out. It looks like it's been built to race, but it couldn't really be further from it.
And this will get more looks now, sat in a pub car park, than a Ducati, wouldn't it? Because it's so unusual.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pretty rare, isn't it?
Yeah, you really don't see many of them about. A lot of them got, I mean, you mentioned PB and whatever. A lot of people did take these apart, throw on FZR bits all over the place. Yeah. And people have raced them as well, you know, I mean, they've gone on to be track bikes. But as soon as you do anything to it and it starts taking the originality away, a lot of the times you start messing a bike up.
Yeah, exactly.
We see it time and time again where people want to, and this one in particular, when I picked it up, it's a £2,000 bike.
Is it?
But, I mean, it's a crazy amount of money for what you get.
Yeah.
But when I got this, it had a 180 section rear tyre on it.
Yeah.
You were supposed to only have a 160.
Okay.
Consequently, it was running wide. It was understeering terribly. You tip into a bend and it would just, the rear wheel would be trying to push you out. I didn't know what it was at the beginning. Yeah. And of course, the suspension was clapped out after 25 years, so that didn't help.
How many miles has it done?
It's only done 20,000.
20,000, not too much, is it? Would you say it's a 1988?
1988, yeah.
1998.
Sorry, 98. Yeah, let's get it right, 98.
It's a parallel twin 850.
Which is from the TDM.
Yeah.
Which, as its name suggests, isn't the most exciting bike out there in the world.
No. Yeah, exactly.
But it's actually quite an interesting engine because you've got its dry sump for a start.
Yep.
So the oil tank's at the top. It was originally a 750. They made it an 850 for this bike and gave it a 270-degree firing order, which is something we're all used to now. Yeah. But at the time, that was a little bit radical for a twin.
Yeah. And that's housed in it's a steel trellis frame,
Steel trellis frame.
It's very FZR-ish, isn't it? Lots of, you sit in it, it feels like the ride. I sat on it a minute ago. You could be on an X-Up or an FZR 600 or something like that. It's just...
Absolutely.
It's that 90s, sat down quite low, bars relatively high.
That's it, flat top to the tank as well.
And loads of kind of 90s, you've got choke lever.
Yeah, you've got choke in there.
You've got your idle, probably got speedo cable.
Yep, speedo cable down there, yeah. It's as analogue as bikes come.
Yeah.
Hasn't got a clock.
Just amazing. And how does it ride? How did it ride before you did anything to it?
Initially, the forks were really soft. It was oversteering and
power-wise, what does it feel like?
It was awful to begin with because the carbs had been messed about with, which is one of the worst things if you're buying an old carburettor bike, if someone's messed about with it. This had a dyno jet kit put in it, so it was running so rich So basically, when you're in town, it was lumpy as anything. Out on the road, you'd shut off coming into a bend, and it was so rich that it would actually kill the spark.
Right.
Midway through, when you go to get back on it again, you're actually bump starting it.
No.
That's
Wow.
how bad it was. But anyway, stripped them all down, sorted them all out, everything back to stock as far as the carbs go.
Yeah.
So exactly how they should be. It runs like a dream now. It's really difficult to think of something that, although we said about the firing orders so familiar now, it doesn't feel like an R7, which has exactly the same.
New R7.
Yeah, new R7.
What sort of power?
It's just under 80 horsepower, so it's
Right.
79 at the flywheel, so to speak. But it's amazing how much character that twin engine's got. It almost feels more like a modern Bonneville in a way.
Right.
In as much as it's got that hard revving, hard edge to it,
Yeah.
and then you hit the throttle, it does give a punch.
Yeah.
Although it's got that firing order, I'd say it really feels more like a modern traditional twin
Right.
than having that V-twin feel now.
There's a lot of styling cues on this, on that new XSR 900 GP,
Well,
haven't there?
absolutely,
And you've ridden
yeah.
it recently, haven't you?
Yeah, it's funny how similar those two bikes are, because the XSR looks like an out-and-out race bike.
Yeah.
But when you ride it, it's one of the friendliest bikes you're ever going to ride.
Yeah.
With a brilliant motor in it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's got
that
CP.
three-cylinder,
Yeah,
brilliant.
so there are similarities in as much as it's very much a road bike. It's not pretending that it's a track bike or anything like that. And it's that riding position. Again, it's like that 80s, 90s riding position, which
Yeah.
again, the XSR's got to a certain extent.
So how comes you went for a bike like this? Because just tell us a little bit about your riding history, because you've done all sorts. haven't
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I've been riding from the mean streets of London back in the day as an instructor and as a dispatcher. I've been around the world. I've ridden in India, America, many continents and stuff. I've got a lot of experience with Enfields out in India. I've ridden
Yeah.
Harleys. I've ridden Triumphs are a popular bike of mine. 955 to 1050 triples in
Yeah.
sort of whatever form they
You've
come.
got a ST, haven't you?
Yeah.
With a zillion miles on it.
That's it. Yeah. Getting on for a few. I'm hoping for the 100,000 before too
Wow,
long with that
yeah.
one. I like a bike that's got a bit of character, but something I can work on myself, because when you do spend a lot of time travelling and whatever, you do tend to rely on yourself rather than the
Yeah.
RAC,
Yeah, exactly.
even though it's easy enough to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So I like bikes that I can really get my teeth into.
Would this be kind of the sportiest bike you've had?
No, definitely not. Probably, I'd say my RSVR
Okay.
was probably,
Yeah.
that's the old twin cylinder one.
Yeah.
2005 that one was.
Well, that's kind of a quirky twin as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a fun bike. I remember, that's one of those ones you regret that you sell.
Yeah. And what do you
Yeah.
ride now for MCN? You've got a
So,
Harley.
Pan America,
Yeah.
which again was a completely different direction for me to go in.
Yeah.
Great big adventure bike, huge amounts of power.
Yeah.
And so far, that's been brilliant.
So how long have you had this, and what have you done with it, and what have you done to it?
It's probably coming up 3 years now. Because although it's not the prettiest bike in the world, it doesn't look like a show bike. When I first got it, as I said, there are a few issues. And with any bike, I like to strip it down and see how it works anyway. So first thing I did with this, haven't had to have the engine apart. 20,000 miles on it. There's
Yeah.
no reason that I really should have. But everything else came off it. Suspension, just down to the bare frame and the engine. So to sort out the suspension issues, I like to keep things stock if I can.
Yeah.
You've got MCT down in Stowmarket.
Yep.
And
really good.
Darren is a bit of a wizard
Yeah.
when it comes to
nothing
suspension.
but good things about them.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. So stock forks, but he's revalved them and put linear springs, because it did have progressive springs before, so just a single rate spring
Yep.
to suit my weight. Progressive springs, they're a compromise,
Yeah.
however you look at it.
Yeah.
So anyone looking to upgrade suspension, a linear single rate spring matched to your own weight,
Perfect.
it's brilliant
Yeah.
on any bike. So that's what he did at the front.
The back.
Still got the original shock. The spring was still all right in that, so he's just revalved the back as well.
Okay. And you've got adjustable damping,
Yep, that's it.
which you can do with a knob. That's handy, isn't it?
It's a really nice trick little bit, that, because it gives it a little Öhlins vibe.
And that's
that little
standard?
bit of gold. That's standard,
Is
yeah.
it? Wow. So you've done the suspension,
So suspension was done. Tyres back to the size they should be.
160. What are you running?
These are Diablo Rosso 4.
Rosso 4, really good tyres.
I haven't really done many miles in these yet.
Yeah.
They've literally probably done 150, maybe 200 miles, but it's one of these things with it not being a modern bike. All of a sudden, you're sort of running in times are all different.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you haven't got your ABS, you haven't got traction control, you haven't got anything like that. So you tend to be a lot more careful on it.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget. I have already a couple of times on this come into a bend a bit hot and you brake a bit harder than you're going to, and they're suddenly just on the edge of chirruping.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like,
because you ride a lot of new bikes with your MCN hat on, don't you?
that's
So
the trouble,
you
yeah.
get used to ABS quite a lot, don't you?
And yeah, you realise how far we've actually come in terms of braking systems. And of course, it's not just in a straight line, it's at every angle now you want to
Yeah, exactly.
put a bike. So in terms of the brakes then on this,
Yep.
as we're talking about that, it was a really easy upgrade. Those are 98 R1 calipers and master cylinder.
Yep.
So it's from the same year as this bike,
Okay.
which kind of keeps it original for me and my
What did it have on? Twin piston?
twin piston Nissins, I think the standard are. The original Japanese ones had Brembos,
Oh.
but then when they imported them, they went for a standard off the shelf
So
caliper.
this is an official UK bike.
This is an official
Yeah.
UK bike, yeah.
So you got these R1, what do they call them?
Blue Spot.
Blue Spot.
But they're the same on Phaser 600,
Yeah, good brakes.
FJR. One of the things about Yamaha worth bearing in mind, people often refer to this as a bit of a part spin special,
Right.
bit of a bitzer, because it's got XJR 1200 mudguard.
Yeah.
Again, the rear caliper is Phaser, FJ, and I think it's FZR, one of the FZRs anyway. And there's all little bits that are off other bikes, but the beauty of that is those bits that are on the other bikes are interchangeable. And there's lots of Yamaha models you can just unbolt stuff off
That's
and
brilliant.
bolt them on, and that's part of the beauty of this.
What about these exhausts? Are they standard?
It came with them.
What are
Is
they?
that they are laser jammer inox or laser inox.
Loud?
So yes, but I think that's only because they've got no baffles left in them. So I may at some point repack those because I would quite like to take it on track. And I think it's probably just a bit too loud at the moment. For certainly a ride by, I think it'd be too loud.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I've ever heard one of these.
You've
So
not?
Can you give me some noise?
I think you're in for a little bit of a treat, actually. If you like your bass, I can't promise any drums, but
No.
you get blame it. I think that's cleared out now anyway. That's better. There we go.
So have you got it to a point now where you're happy with the way it stops, goes and handles?
100%. It's now just doing those three things really, the tyres and suspension, brakes and getting the carbs sorted out has just made it really, really rideable. It makes me smile the moment I go out on it.
Yeah, yeah. Gearing.
Front sprocket is down one tooth.
Right, just give it a bit more oomph.
Yeah, I mucked about for a bit. I took three on the rear, sorry.
Yeah, to
And
make it shorter.
It wasn't quite enough. 4 was too much.
Okay.
So taking one off the front
Yeah.
has just about put it in the right
Okay.
zone.
5-speed or 6?
It's only 5-speed,
5-speed.
which again is something.
No slipper clutch,
No slipper
no
clutch.
quick shifter, no auto blipper.
It's got-
all completely manual.
Massive amounts of engine braking when you shut off.
Is it? Does it feel Ducati-ish to ride? I suppose it's parallel twins, they wouldn't really, I suppose.
It feels Ducati-ish in as much as it's got this solid feel to it through the engine and the trellis frame that makes it that feeling of Ducati where the engine and the frame are all as one.
Yep.
You know, you get that feeling that it's
Solid and yeah,
yeah, that's
no flex in the system.
exactly how that feels. So it's got that feel to it.
So it feels quite race bike-like in that
Yeah,
respect.
as you rev it, you feel it through the frame, you feel it through the
Yeah.
seat, you feel everything because it's all there's no rubber mountings anywhere. Everything's
No.
just bolted
Is
together.
it comfortable to ride? I mean, this seat looks quite nice, or not?
It is, yeah. It's around town, there's a little bit of weight on your wrists, I suppose, but in general, because it gets up through those gears so quickly, you're engaged as soon as you're out on it.
Yeah, you're not thinking
It's-
about. Is it similar riding position to the XSR?
It's not, I need to get them side by side.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's something in the DNA that's similar.
The same spirit. So what do you use it for?
It's entirely for fun,
Yeah.
this. I mean, I will come to work on it on a nice sunny day, but as you can see, it's all original paint. It's not the prettiest bike, it's not a show bike, but I don't want to ever have to clean it again. So
No.
it's only going to come out when the weather's
Yeah,
nice.
And what's the plan for it in the future? Are you going to make any more modifications
No.
or just enjoy it?
The only thing I will do is when black water hoses are back in stock,
Right.
is I'm going to get rid of those red ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not really great, are they?
No, that was purely because they didn't have black ones in stock,
Yeah.
and the original ones had turned to mush on it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get out riding it. But yeah, other than try and keep it on the road,
It's amazing.
That's
You
it.
can't see many more on the road, or
it's really rare. Well, I went to a bike night last Tuesday down at Old Buckingham.
yeah,
There must have been 1,000 bikes there, and I didn't see another one.
no. So any
So-
number of R1s and
Yeah.
Panigales, and then that's great. It must make you feel good.
It does, and people were stopping and looking at it, and I like
Yeah.
that. You know, you could hear people like, "There's that TRX over there."
Yeah, I remember
Like,
them
yeah,
from
exactly.
TV in the late 90s. So any final thoughts?
You think it's 25 years old now. It didn't look fresh at the time, I don't think.
No.
And it doesn't look fresh now, but it's got a lovely classic quality that you can ride every day. You can actually go out, ride it, you can wring its neck. I mean, it only revs out to 8,000.
Right.
So,
okay, yeah.
but, you know, you've got probably 2,000 RPM in there. If you keep it fizzing so that it's making bacon, then you can really enjoy it.
Nice. Excellent. Well, thanks very much for showing us this beauty.
Absolute pleasure.
I'd love to have a go one day.
You can, yeah,
Thanks
whenever you
very
like,
much.
keys in it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos like this coming very, very soon.